Christian parenting.
Right after the question of what curriculum should I get for this subject and all of the curriculum questions, the next question that comes is, am I doing enough? So you take a look at that stack of curriculum. Maybe it is a couple inches high. Maybe it's a foot high. Maybe you got 2 or 3 feet high of curriculum, and maybe lots of kids too. And this is the most common question. Get all the curriculum. Am I doing enough? And constantly questioning ourselves as homeschool moms. Can we stop it? Can we stop doing that? Well, I guess if you didn't question yourself, you wouldn't be listening to this episode today. But we're going to talk about how much is too much in your homeschool as you are prepping and planning and preparing for the next homeschool year that maybe you're starting right about now, starting in a couple weeks or maybe a month or so. All right, let's get into it. Well, welcome to episode 473 of Little by Little Homeschool Podcast. I am your host, Leigh Nguyen, and we talk about all the homeschool things, the motherhood, the parenting, with a focus on discipling our kids with Christ at the center of our home. I am, I guess I do need to say, a former homeschool mom, but once a homeschool mom, always a homeschool mom. Just a couple weeks ago, I sent a video to my family of a toad. Now, I know that it was a toad because frogs need water. Toads, they like water, but it's not necessary. So I knew that it was a toad. Sent a video to my family because my 21-year-old became obsessed with them about 10 years ago, and he knew all the information about it. And so our family group text is often, if we come across a toad, or this could go for anything that we think that we remember from homeschool that our kids were really into, we'll say, hey, look at this, send a picture and stuff, and we just kind of enjoy it. Homeschool really became just such an integral part of our family, and it really changed the trajectory of all of our lives and really showed us what education can be. And that is part of why I do this podcast. So let's get into today's topic. Now, the next episode that'll be coming out on Monday will be talking about an overhaul for your homeschool year if you feel that you need that. So make sure you come back to listen to that. It'll be a little bit of a follow-up. But for now, let's analyze what would be maybe too much for you. Is it possible to do too much? So we're just going to cut to the chase. Can you do too much in homeschool? If you don't have the same answer as me, then stick around. If you have the same answer, stick around too. Yes, you can do too much as a homeschool family. As a homeschool mom, you can just prepare way too much to do, and it shows up often as burnout and in a lot of different ways. And I did do an episode, at least one, about burnout. I can link that in the show notes if you're like, what does that look like? Do I have that? Did I have that last homeschool year? Or listen to that so that you can start to see some of the signs of it before it comes up. But can you do too much? Yes. So how much is too much in your homeschool? Let's start with having a vision and a mission for your homeschool and your family. That is great. I am all for that. If you're in your homeschool blueprint or when you join that, you are going to be creating a vision statement. I want you to do that. But guess what? We don't reach that vision statement. We don't get to it accomplished. We don't finish that mission in one homeschool year. No, it happens over the course of hours and days and weeks and months and years and all of that time that you have with your kids of home educating them, and it can continue beyond. My family has had a vision, we've had a mission, and all 3 of our kids are currently living at home, and so guess what? Even though we're no longer homeschooling, we are still living that out in our own individual lives and together as a family. You do not need to accomplish everything in 1 year. You can't. And yes, you can accomplish goals. And we do in your homeschool blueprint, we will work on goals, but that's different. You're not going to accomplish that vision. You're going to accomplish a little part of it. And then a little part of it the next year. And you're going to continue to build upon it because you can't accomplish a vision, a mission when you have maybe a 3, 5, and 7-year-old. No. That vision needs to be bigger and it needs to be an ongoing one. Oftentimes when we think, am I doing too much? And we're going to talk about capacity also here coming up next month. So look for that episode too. But we can often compare ourselves to other moms, whether these are moms in our real life, maybe a mom you kind of sort of know that homeschools from co-op, or it is a YouTube channel or Instagram or TikTok social influencer about homeschooling. We can compare, and then we can take a look at just what we know of their lives, which isn't all of it. And we say, oh, we're failing. She's doing just the right amount and I'm not doing enough. And then you keep adding more and then you get to the point where you are doing too much. Don't compare. Evaluate your unique family, the season of life that you are in right now, as well as your circumstances. Maybe that other mom looks like she's accomplishing everything, but her homeschool budget is 5 times the amount of yours. You are not anything less than. She is not anything less than or greater than. It is just different circumstances. Take a look at your family, your circumstances, and evaluate on that. Don't compare to anybody else. So what would be some measurements of if you're doing too much in your homeschool? Burnout. Listen to that episode. If you are experiencing burnout, your motivation is in the tank, especially as you're going into this homeschool year. This should be the time of the year that you're getting excited about the homeschool. But if you are looking at it as doom and gloom, friend, you might possibly be burned out and you need to make some changes and you need to make some adjustments and you're probably doing too much in your homeschool. Maybe you need to outsource some things. We're going to talk about some solutions here in just a minute. But some changes need to be made. Stick tuned for Monday's episode about giving it an overhaul. Listen to that episode about burnout. But right now, you should be looking forward to it. Doesn't mean that you are trying to rush away the rest of your summer break. No. Enjoy the summer. Be content with what you're at. But also have in the back of your mind, I'm really looking forward to this homeschool year and all the things that we're going to do together and the plans that I have and the curriculum I have. That is how you should be feeling as you begin the next homeschool year. If you are not, then you are possibly burned out and doing too much. Look for some physical symptoms. Your kids might start to show some physical symptoms. I feel like oftentimes things like that, even for myself, when I'm nervous, when I'm upset, when I'm stressed, what happens? It typically starts to hit you like in the gut, right? Your stomach starts rumbling. You might need to run to use the bathroom. You have a stomach ache. If you have a child that has mysterious stomach aches all the time when it comes to school or headaches, it might be just that it's too much for them. It might be too stressful for them. Their sibling might have the same workload and it might be okay, but it's not good for the other one. It is exhibiting itself in physical symptoms. Are they pushing back on subjects or doing school in what they used to be very compliant? And this, we can also kind of get into personalities. We can get into as they get to be tweens and hormones. And so there's a little bit of grace, but then there's also okay, where does grace, end? And we are getting into sinful behavior. Is it just their immaturity that is exhibiting itself and that they just can't handle this amount of load of homeschool? And so look for that pushback and also look for some of the physical symptoms and maybe they're just a little bit down. Maybe they're just a little depressed. And it's not just, listen, I had boys, and especially one boy, who pushed back on homeschool all of the time. But there was no physical symptoms. It was just he had other things he would rather do. So that's different than what I'm talking about here. But are you experiencing some physical symptoms? Are you lacking motivation? Are you feeling down and depressed about it too? I have a couple of key points I want to make, and then I'm going to round it out with some solutions here for you. The first is that more is not better. If your homeschool is going along and it is good, more is not better. I would encourage you to continue with what is going well. Maybe you might say, you know what, my kids are getting older. I'd like to raise the stakes a little bit. Go ahead and raise the stakes a little bit. Nobody's saying you can't do that. But adding more and more and more does not mean that it is better. Look for mastery, okay? Look for depth of material. Remembering, going back, that vision and that mission, those are great to have, but they're not going to be accomplished in one homeschool year. Your goals possibly can be accomplished in a year, but not that vision and not that mission. More is not always or necessarily better. Think about, this is not a great example, but think about food. Think about cake. One piece of cake, it's great. You're like, ooh, this is good. I'd like some more. And then you have some more and more. No, it is not better for the waistline. It's not better for your health to eat the entire cake. One slice is fine. Everybody has one slice and we all feel good. It was content. We are content. We had a great little celebration or whatever it was for. And then let's move on. More is not better in your homeschool. It could be. but it doesn't have to be. If you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, if you're going back and you're comparing and saying, my friend is doing a nature study and science experiments, and they are building this village from this history lesson that they learned about, and they are doing, they're 8 and they're doing trigonometry. I don't know, I'm just going to name all kinds of things. That is fine for them. If they're doing that and thriving, that doesn't mean you have to do it. More is not better. The second thing I want you to ask yourself when you're evaluating, how much is too much for me, is there any margin in your days? Now, there may be some days. I know that we could have days where we have the homeschool, and maybe you have piano lessons or violin lessons. There might be Bible quizzing and then youth group or Awana. And it's just a compact day. I'm not talking about those days. We can have those days. But let's just say in general, is there margin in your days? Is there margin to just sit and read a book to your kids? Is there margin to let them run around and play in the yard? Is there margin for your mind, your brain, your body? Is there any margin? If you are not experiencing margin, then I would encourage you to add margin to your life. It was about 8 years ago, 9 years, I lose track of time. We were living in an old farmhouse, and the house and the property required a lot of work. There's one bigger pond, one smaller pond. There was a pool. We had just gotten a dog. The house was just a lot of work. We basically renovated the whole thing. There was one bathroom that I never got to, and it kind of haunts me now to this day. Otherwise, I got to every other room, not every, but every single room except for that one. And we had just gotten to the point where our finances were just stretched thin. We had no margin. Our marriage was stretched thin. We didn't have much margin with our relationship with our kids and the amount of time at that season. And we were getting into a new season, the distance that it was taking us to get everywhere. There was just a lot of places where my husband and I looked at each other. We're like, we just need margin. And so this house that we had lived at for 3 years, that we really had put our mark on, had made such a huge dent in the work of it and clearing the land and all the stuff. We sold it. And we moved to something that was smaller, something that would allow us margin in our finances and our time and our relationships and our homeschool and as our kids were getting older. Now, that's a bit more extreme. I'm not saying you have to go ahead and sell your house, but that's what we did. We needed to add margin. It might just be something small that you need to add margin. Maybe it's one less kids activity or sports program that you do this fall to add a little bit of margin to your life. You know if you need margin. If you do, add it. I promise it will be worth it. And the third thing I really want to touch on, we're going to go back to it, is to have the right perspective on time. You don't have to accomplish everything. Now think about maybe a study of something. Think about history. Say you're going to do, even if you did, so my family did the Mystery of History, and it's a 4-year program, like 4 different books. Even doing those 4 years, I wouldn't go and say to my kids, there, you've got everything you need to know about history. Absolutely not. I was like, okay, there's your introduction. 4 years of introduction to all of world history. Now, what specific time periods do you want to study and which ones do you want to get into a little bit more? Have a right perspective on time. And the fact that, I'm going to tell you straight up, you're not going to teach your kids everything that they need to know by the time that they graduate homeschool. It is impossible. Only our good Lord knows everything. You are not going to be able to teach them everything. It is giving them that foundation. It is giving them that desire to learn, to educate themselves, to know how to educate themselves, and to grow in the areas that God is calling them to. Again, not all of our kids are going to be superb mathematicians or scientists, or even on the opposite, they're going to write wonderful literature or understand history, understand all the different things in grammar and, all the things. We teach them what we can, understanding that eventually their time is going to be of their own and they're going to spend their time in how they want. And what if we get to model to them the fact that you get to continue and grow? We don't have to be stagnant in our knowledge and in our growth. And so let's round out this episode with some solutions. How much is too much in your homeschool? You get to answer that. Are you experiencing any physical symptoms? Are you not looking forward to this homeschool year? Are your kids exhibiting different behavior than they used to when it comes to your homeschool? Are you trying to accomplish too much in one year? Are you comparing yourself to other families? Are you, when I said, is what you're doing too much? And you said yes. And then there's your answer. Pray about it. And then pare down. Focus each day on what you are getting done. Maybe you have a handful of little ones as well. And so that takes a lot of time. Focus on what you are getting done. Now, I'm not saying neglect the older kids that maybe need their homeschool. They need to be educated. All of our kids do need to be educated. We don't need to just be completely hands-off because that does not prepare them. That is not what I am advocating for at all. But focus on what you are getting done. Imagine if you sat down in the evening and you wrote down the things that you did do. Or at the end of your homeschool time, you wrote down the topics and all the things that you actually did do. And over the course of a week and then a month, and you look back and you're like, wow, we actually did do a lot. And as moms, we can often usually really forget what we have done. Our kids bring up and we're like, we did that, huh? I'm a pretty good homeschool mom. I'll say to my kids, like, oh, do you remember this time? They'll say, do you remember this time? And I'm like, I do not. They're like, oh, we did this. I'm like, wow, that sounds like a great field trip. I'm glad you guys had a good time. Like, did I have a good time too? But just remember also that they have a whole lifetime to learn, just like you have a whole lifetime to learn. Model to them the fact that you are continuing to learn about the topics that you're interested in, maybe learning about the topics that you're not even interested in. A really great solution, if you are doing too much, is to incorporate more family-style learning. There are curriculums that are specifically focused towards that. That is their goal. And then you can do it with multiple different ages. Maybe it is family-style learning for some of the content subjects, but then the skill subjects they do independently because they're at different levels, say for their math and for their English and their grammar. But family learning is a great resource. But if you have listened to this episode and you say, you know what? I'm feeling really good about my homeschool. Guess what? You're not doing too much, and I would encourage you to carry on. As you get into this beginning of this homeschool year, whether you're feeling lost or a little uncertain, or you just want some confirmation of what you're doing, I want to encourage you to check out your homeschool blueprint. It's a beautiful time of the year to go and get involved and to do this. You can sit in the nice cool air conditioning with your iced coffee or your iced tea and go through this. We're going to create your vision that you're going to accomplish over time, remember? And then you can also create goals, and we're going to talk about your family culture. We're going to talk about the curriculum, just all of the things. I would love for you to walk into this homeschool year feeling excited about it and knowing that you are not having yourself set up for doing too much. It is going to be just the right amount. And this is a really great way for you to show your kids that you're continuing to learn and how much you are invested in your time and your effort in their homeschooling. You can get more information at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/blueprint. I will see you back here after the weekend.